On the 4th August, 1914, the United Kingdom declared war upon Germany after their refusal to remove troops from neutral Belgium. 4 months after hostilities had begun, lulls occurred in the fighting as armies ran out of men and munitions and commanders reconsidered their strategies following the stalemate of the race to the sea and the indecisive result of the First Battle of Ypres. In the week leading up to the 25th December, French, German, and British soldiers crossed trenches to exchange seasonal greetings and talk. The following are the words of those who bore witness to the Christmas Truce.
It was a beautiful moonlit night, frost on the ground, white almost everywhere, and about 7 or 8 in the evening, there was a lot of commotion in the German trenches, and there were these lights. I don't know what they were. And then they sang Silent Night, Stille Nacht. I shall never forget it. It was one of the highlights of my life. I thought, what a beautiful tune. Private Albert Morin of the 2nd Queen's Regiment.
First, the Germans would sing one of their carols, and then we would sing one of ours, until when we started up, O come, all ye faithful, the Germans immediately joined in singing the same hymn to the Latin words Adeste Fideles, and I thought, well, this is really a most extraordinary thing. 2 nations both singing the same carol in the middle of a war. Rifleman Graham Williams of the 5th London Rifle Brigade.
We were in the front line. We were about 300 yards from the Germans, and we had, I think on Christmas Eve, we'd been singing carols and this, that, and the other, and the Germans had been doing the same. And we'd been shouting to each other, sometimes rude remarks, more often just joking remarks. Anyway, eventually a German said, tomorrow you no shoot, we no shoot. And the morning came and we didn't shoot and they didn't shoot. So then we began to pop our heads over the side and jump down quickly in case they shot, but they didn't shoot. And then we saw a German standing up, waving his arms, and we didn't shoot, and so on, and so it gradually grew. Marmaduke Walkington of the London Regiment.
The cautious first moves.
I shouted to our enemies that we didn't wish to shoot and that we make a Christmas truce. I said I would come from my side and we could speak with each other. First there was silence, then I shouted once more, invited them, and the British shouted, no shooting. Then a man came out of the trenches and I on my side did the same. And so we came together and we shook hands, a bit cautiously. Captain Josef Sewald of Germany's 17th Bavarian Regiment.
I don't know if we had breakfast that morning. I suppose we did. We had a drink. Everything was peaceful, and eventually one of the Germans held up a card with Merry Christmas written on it, and come on over the top. Everybody was dubious in our trench, saying kind of, should we or shouldn't we, and all of this bloomin' caper, and then 1 or 2 more Germans come up. Then eventually we decided, well, they haven't got any rifles on them, and we went over. And our Buchanan Dunlop, who come to us as battalion commander, he kind of led the singing. Private Stan Brown of the 1st Leicestershire Regiment.
How the truce spread.
What a sight, little groups of Germans and British extending almost the length of our front. Out of the darkness, we could hear laughter and see lighted matches. A German lighting a Scotchman's cigarette and vice versa, exchanging cigarettes and souvenirs. Corporal John Ferguson of the 2nd Seaforth Highlanders.
What I had still believed to be madness, several hours ago, I could see now with my own eyes. Bavarians and English. Until then, the greatest of enemies, shook hands, talked, and exchanged items. A single star stood still in the sky, directly above them, and was interpreted by many as a special sign. More and more joined, and the entire line greeted each other. Josef Wenzel, German soldier.
They've got Christmas trees all along the top of their trenches. I never saw such a sight. Climbing the parapet, I saw a sight which I shall remember to my dying day. Right along the whole of their line were hung paper lanterns and illuminations of every description, many of them in such positions as to suggest that they were hung upon Christmas trees. Sergeant A. Lovell of the 3rd Rifle Brigade.
At daylight on Christmas Day, we went halfway and met the Germans and exchanged cigars and cigarettes with one another. They seemed a poor lot of boys and men of 40 with beards. One fellow had been employed as a waiter at the Grand Hotel Eastbourne for 10 years and said he wished he was back again. Private Harry Dixon of the Royal Warwickshire Regiment.
Henry Williamson, a 19-year-old private in the London Rifle Brigade, wrote to his mother on Boxing Day. "Dear Mother, I am writing from the trenches. It is 11 o'clock in the morning. Beside me is a coke fire. Opposite me a dugout, wet with straw in it. The ground is sloppy in the actual trench, but frozen elsewhere. In my mouth is a pipe presented by the Princess Mary. In the pipe is tobacco. Of course, you say, but wait, in the pipe is German tobacco. Haha, you say, from a prisoner or found in a captured trench. Oh dear no, from a German soldier. Yes, a live German soldier from his own trench. Yesterday, the British and Germans met and shook hands in the ground between the trenches and exchanged souvenirs and shook hands. Yes, all day Christmas Day, and as I write. Marvellous, isn't it?"
Football was played. Eventually, the English brought a soccer ball from their trenches, and pretty soon, a lively game ensued. How marvelously wonderful, yet how strange it was. The English officers felt the same way about it. Lieutenant Kurt Zamisch, of Germany's 134th Saxons Infantry Regiment.
Suddenly a Tommy came with a football, kicking already and making fun, and then began a football match. We marked the goals with our caps. Teams were quickly established for a match on the frozen mud, and the Fritzes beat the Tommies 3-2. Lieutenant Johannes Niemann of Germany's 133rd Saxons Infantry Regiment.
I went out myself and shook hands with several of their officers and men. From what I gathered, most of them would be glad to get home again, as we should. We have had our pipes playing all day, and everyone has been walking about in the open, unmolested. Cigarettes and autographs were exchanged between some men, while others simply enjoyed the first opportunity to stretch their legs without facing machine guns in months. We had another parley with the Germans in the middle. Some more people took photos. I don't know how long it will go on for. I believe it was supposed to stop yesterday, but we can hear no firing going on along the front today, except a little distant shelling. We are, at any rate, having another truce on New Year's Day, as the Germans want to see how the photos come out. Captain A.D. Chater of the 2nd Battalion Gordon Highlanders.
Not one shot was fired. English and German soldiers intermingled and exchanged souvenirs. Germans very eager to exchange almost anything for our bully beef and jam. Majority of them know French fluently. Regimental Sergeant Major George Beck of the 1st Warwickshire Regiment.
How it all ended.
I fired 3 shots into the air and put up a flag with Merry Christmas on it on the parapet. He, a German, put up a sheet with thank you on it, and the German captain appeared on the parapet. We both bowed and saluted and got down into our respective trenches, and he fired 2 shots into the air, and the war was on again. Captain Charles Buffalo Bill Stockwell of the 2nd Royal Welsh Fusiliers.
The following year.
Xmas Day, December the 25th, 1915. Had breakfast, after which we shouted greetings to the Germans over the way. Before leaving the Germans, one of their officers told one of ours that they would not fire another shot for 2 days if we did the same. Here we were, Welsh and Scots all clustered around the burning brazier which was placed on the outer parapet. The Germans were sending up starlights and singing. They stopped, so we cheered them and we began singing Land of Hope and Glory and Men of Harlech. We stopped and they cheered us. So we went on till the early hours. Private Robert Keating of the Royal Welsh Fusiliers.
The following year, a few units arranged ceasefires, but the truces were not nearly as widespread as in 1914. This was in part due to strongly worded orders from commanders prohibiting truces. Soldiers were no longer amenable to truce by 1916. The war had become increasingly bitter after the human losses suffered during the battles of 1915. The Christmas truces were particularly significant Due to the number of men involved and the level of their participation, even in quiet sectors, dozens of men openly congregating in daylight was remarkable, and are often seen as a symbolic moment of peace and humanity amidst one of the most violent conflicts in human history.